Hello, everybody. If you guys can hear us and see us okay, please type llama in the chat. We're super excited for this course. Live demo, sorry, for this course launch. But I think we are officially live. Awesome. I see a llama from Luis. Thank you so much. And we've got early birds in the chat. Thank you so much, you guys, for your interest. Pedro and I were just talking about how heartwarming it is to see you guys typing things in the chat even way before the live. So thank you for that. um, okay, I think we can begin. All right, so hello, everybody. My name is Kathleen, and I'm going to be your host for today's Etcher Live demo. We are here with the one and only Pedro Loureiro,
Hello.
who will be talking about his new course with us called the Figure Drawing Fundamentals course, and that will be divided into two parts. So the first part is going to be talking about the basics and foundation to figure drawing. In the second part, it's just going to introduce you to watercolor and how to use it effectively to bring depth and dimension to your sketch. So just a quick run through about the dates so that you guys would mark your calendars. I got a lot of hello in the chat. Hello, everybody. Awesome. We are seeing a lot of people from all across the globe, literally. Wow, Pedro. This is
Indeed.
so nice.
Even from some uncanny places like Cozumel, Mexico. I
I
see that.
know.
The tiny island in the Gulf of Mexico. Cool. And from Stockholm, hey son.
I know, right? Oh, you know some of these names, awesome. And I see some of the regulars, and wow, okay, a lot of
Yeah.
hellos. Yay! Welcome
Some of the
everybody.
regulars. Hi, hi. Welcome,
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thanks so much for being here. And
Okay.
should I
Um.
take it from here, Kathleen? Or do you want to say anything?
I'll I'll just I can talk about the dates real quickly and just a few housekeeping before we begin and hand it over to Pedro. So for the part one of Pedro's course on Etcher Studio, it's gonna be made up of 5 classes, and that's gonna be all Wednesdays starting this September 6th, and that's 2 p.m. Eastern time. And for the part two, that's going to be all Tuesdays and made up of 4 classes and starting on October 17th. And that's also 2 p.m. Eastern time, but the class on October 31st will be at 3 p.m. Eastern time because of um, daylight's time shift
Oh
all
yeah,
across
that's
the globe. Yeah, so you guys might need to take note of that. If you have any questions for today's live demo, please type them in the chat. I'm just gonna uh, throw them to Pedro and interrupt him literally. Um, and if your questions are relevant to what we're doing today, we're gonna have to ask them to Pedro. If not, we're gonna hold them off to our Q&A at the end. You guys might want to stick around till the end because we're gonna be doing a giveaway for one watercolor set, 24 half pan watercolor set, and a graphic pens set. So that is pretty exciting. We're going to be having 2 winners today. So stick around till the end so that you guys can win. So anybody in the chat who is here right now can win. So I'm just going to be dropping the link to our reference photo for today. And with that, I'm just going to be handing things over to Pedro so that he can reintroduce himself, talk about what we're going to be doing today, and get us started. So, Pedro, it's all you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thanks so much, and thank you, Etcher, again for having me. It's been a great cooperation with Etcher since we've been working together since 2020, all through the pandemic and all that. Like we've created so much cool courses, and like now it seems like it's very serious. So like each new course has like a whole level of pressure to it. And so this time it's going to be, as Kathleen said, this time the course is going to be about figure sketching. This is actually one of my favorite things to sketch. Oh, by the way, I should introduce myself to all of you who don't know me. I almost forgot about that. So I'm Pedro Loureiro. I'm based out of Lisbon, Portugal. And I used to work as an architect. Now I work full-time as a architectural illustrator, which is people that do scribbles and do scribbles all day. related to the architecture design that's being worked on. And I've been an urban sketcher. More importantly, I've been an urban sketcher since 2010, and that's where like my sketching habit comes from. The Urban Sketchers community. If you don't like it, just look it up. It's an amazing community to grow as a sketcher. Even if you're not a professional artist, it's really fun to just mingle with people that are like-minded in the art sense. And that's it. That's me. Regarding the course, figure drawing, let's say figure drawing fundamentals, it's I think it's like a hard course to define, but it's mostly about, like, if I had to resume it down to like a few words, it's a course about sketching people. About sketching people in motion, sketching people in different postures. We're going to explore a little bit of different postures and different different expressions. But it's basically like a sum of all the tips and all the tricks and all the techniques that I've been learning throughout the years sketching people, and that's it. Consolidated into a single, like, cohesive, I hope, unit. And whoops, and there you go. And so basically what I'll offer you in this course is part one. As Kathleen said, it's going to be more beginner friendly, in the sense that it's going to be very, very beginner friendly in the sense that like you have paper in the front. It can be very inexpensive paper. You have a pen. That's all you need to do. That's all you need for the first parts. Just a pen and a paper, and get sketching from the stick figure to a proper, like very structured and very natural feeling a person, or something that you can identify more or less with the person, even if it's like a quick draft. We're going to have a class on structure. So basically, we're going to do like make-believe skeletons. We're going to fill on second class. We're going to fill those bones with flesh, with sausages, like sausages and all this mass. We are going on the third class. We're going to take a look at heads, and how heads change with different postures and with different positions and with different expressions even. And I have to check. Oh yeah, on class 4 we'll approach the business of hands, which is a little bit complicated at first, but I'll try to break it down in simple terms and with simple techniques. And we are going to have a final fifth class about just about practicing everything, like putting it all together in like a figure that you can, or many figures that you can basically that, so that you can practice all the techniques in one single sketch. And we're going to hint at shading as well, to give the impression of volume. And that will segue nicely into part 2, which will be all about using watercolor to create volume in your figures. So that will be class 1, strictly about volume and shading. On class 2, we are going to take a look at hair. Which is sometimes it's where people, or at least like beginners, tend to mess things up a little bit. And I have a few great tips for you to simplify the business of hair, while like making it believable. The third class will be about clothing, about fabrics, about how they fall, and where the tension zones are, and how fabric and clothing can assist us in making the figures a little bit more believable. And finally, class 4, I have to check. Class 4, what's class 4 about? Gosh, clothing, and then we have hair. Oh yeah, switched around. So clothing comes first, and then hair comes on the third one. And then the fourth class will be basically more or less like the fifth class on part 1, which will be like bringing it all together in a single, or actually two pieces, two exercises, where we kind of intermingle two human figures, or many human figures, and how do they make a cohesive narrative in your sketch. So that's how the course is going to look like. I really hope you enjoy it, and it's going to be, it was a lot of work, a lot of fun, and it was, like planned out, and there was a lot of work from the team, the editing team, assembling it and making it, turning my recordings into actually proper content that you can take advantage of. And I really hope you like it and find it useful, and most of all that you find it fun, because sketching for me, it's all about having fun and having, like enjoying the process rather than the results. And
Yay.
one last thing, yeah, Kathleen.
No, I just said yay.
Okay. And one last thing that I want to tell you about this figure drawing course is that it's not like an academic figure course. So you're not going to learn very much about proportions. I will hint at proportion use, but I won't. I'm not really obsessive about proportions if they are correct and everything, because like everybody's different, and you have much more fun. At least I have much more fun if I don't mind proportions. I just let things ease in me. Like I practice a lot, and with practice comes perfection. But it's not perfection. But like you get better at it. You get better at it, and I honestly never used proportions that much, so I'll just try to give it the very basics. And there are other courses from other great etcher instructors out there that will give you like the right proportions for drawing a human face and all that. This course is a little bit more about letting it loose, like letting the hand loose and letting the hand find the shapes and find the volumes of the human figure naturally, in a natural way. So you may expect to have messed up sketches. So, and that's perfectly natural to have. You don't expect perfect sketches, but expect like natural sketches, and expect to have, I guess, a lot of fun. And from there on, if you finish this course, then you can move on to other courses that are a little bit more academic, or a little bit more directed to other areas, and like more to painting or more to drawing. But this is kind of like a starting point where you can branch out from there. So yeah, let's get going with the demo. So for this demo, I'm going to switch the camera around. Oh, the baby's crying in the room. Hope it doesn't come through in the sound.
You're good. You're good.
He's been moody lately. Almost 2 years.
Oh.
It's in that age, like in the age where he's starting to get moody. Anyway, so you can see my desk now, I hope. And these are just like a few figures that I've used as practice while I was doing the exercise, while I was doing the recordings. So this is obviously the class about hair. There's some great tips there, mostly from comic books. I love comic books, so like most of my tips sometimes come from comic books. So, but sorry, let's just go over a little bit of the materials that I'm going to use for this demo, and then we'll jump right into it. So I'm going to use this. Usually, I'm a nib pen fan. Nib pen fan. Oh, that's tough to say.
That was tricky.
But today I feel like using this Pigma marker. It's it has like a nice wide, like a nice wide points that I can I can bend it a little bit more and makes like thicker lines, and I can hold it a little bit more like lightly and makes lighter lines. So it's a very cool pen to have, like to vary a little bit your lines. I'm going to use a couple of brushes, round brushes. This is actually an Asian calligraphy brush, Chinese, I think. And I usually use it for big washes, but I'm probably just going to use this one. These Coda Chronos number 12. So just choose like one number 12, number 10, number 8 brush that you have. And I'm going to use Canson paper. This is A4 format. And I'm going to use it in portrait mode, because the portrait format, because the reference photo is vertical. And I'm going to use this. This is my watercolor kit. It's messy and dirty and pitiful, but that's okay. I'm just going to use this one color because the whole course is going to be, or the whole second part of the course is going to be monochromatic. So you're just going to use one color. Just pick one color that has a great value range. And by value range, I mean it can go from a really dark color to a really light color. I'm going to use Neutral Tint by Winsor & Newton. Paper tissue or paper cloth. This is like standard like kitchen roll. And a lot of water. Here's a bucket of water. And this vaporizer actually helps a lot. Like if you vaporize your watercolors, they'll be ready to a little bit more malleable to use. And what else we have? That's it. That's all we need. So I hope you have your materials ready. And the exercise that we're going to do, oh gosh, these are a little bit dirty. I usually recycle these sheets because I sketch live on events and everything, and sometimes like the sketch doesn't go as planned, so I always use these sheets, the back of these sheets, because they're quite good, and I don't want to throw them away just because one side is used, and I use the other side, which is perfectly fine because it's reversible paper. All right, so the reference photo is a skater in Barcelona. This was a photo taken by my partner. We were traveling together, and we spent like 1 hour watching these skaters go past. A bunch of skaters go by and by and by, and there's really dynamic, some really dynamic photos on this set. And what I like about this photo is that the pose of the guy. Like it's very. His skeleton is very articulate, very structured, but also very bendy. So it's right from the get-go. It's a very dynamic pose. Oh, I almost forgot. I almost forgot about this. Gosh, how could I forget? So for the skeleton part, for the initial part, I'm going to use a colored pencil. This is like a two-ended colored pencil. One side is blue, one side is red. And I'm just going to use this for the first part, for the initial part of the exercise. And this exercise is going to show you the whole entirety of the course in one single sketch, basically. So I'm just going to, of course, this might feel a little bit advanced for some of you, but just tag along if you like, and let's see how it goes. But this is just, yeah.
Sorry, before we begin, just a clarification with the paper you're using. That's a cold press and 100% cotton. Is that correct?
No. Actually, this is cellulose, so it's pulp paper.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a little bit cheaper, but it's good. I mean, it's good for sketching.
Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying.
All right. So first things first, let's do the skeleton. So pick up your pencils. It doesn't have to be a colored pencil. It can be like a regular pencil, graphite pencil. Just that it produces a very lightweight lines. Just like these. Very lightweight. We don't want to oversaturate the paper right with the skeleton because we're going to sketch over it with the pen. Just going to leave the pen here because I think the camera sometimes messes it up when I talk with my hands. Anyway, all right, let's get to it. So I usually go starting by the head, and the head is a sphere, at least from a skeleton standpoint. We start with a sphere. We'll get very we'll get very detailed on this sphere thing on one of the classes and in the course. But for now, let's just say that the head is a sphere and has like a bump, which is like the chin or the jaw. And, there's these axes. For those of you who already know, this is kind of the model for the Looney's head. But you'll learn all about this in the course. And now we move on to so the spine is going to be more or less diagonal, because this guy is kind of tilting a little bit to the left. I hope this is coming through because I hope I'm not sketching it too lightly. Kathleen, please let me know if it doesn't come through the red. And now let's do this cross shape. And then we add kind of the chest shape. This guy is not completely facing forwards, facing frontal to us. It's kind of tilted to the right, so this is not going to be like a very regular shape. Also, his shoulders are at different heights, so you might want to reflect that on your sketch and like have like a little diagonal here, somewhat tilted. Now this arm is extending all the way to the right, to his right, I mean, not to our right. And so we have one line, one articulation, and one line there. And then we end up with just like a triangle shape for the hands. That'll do for now.
Pedro,
Yeah.
sorry, just a quick request. Will it be possible to make the lines darker?
Oh yeah, sure, I can do that. I'll just use the blue.
Yep, thank you.
Good of you to let me know. All right, so this is what's going on so far. We have the heads, we have the chests, and then we have like the kind of the spine, which is directing the shape of the chest. You'll know all about it in the course. You'll learn all about it in the course. And then we have the articulations, the arm articulations. We end up with a small triangle shape for the hands for now. And then we have the other arm, and it's folded. It's a little bit more folded than the first arm. There you go. And we finish off with a triangle that represents so far what will become the hands. So this is just a structure. This is just a skeleton of this guy. So now realize, now we're going to add like a kind of like an oval shape or a rectangular ovally shape here. But notice how the hip is twisting to the other side. So if the diagonal of the shoulders was tilting on towards the right, the diagonal of the hip is going to tilt towards the left. You see how in the reference photo is a little bit like twisted, and you can see by the waistline of his t-shirt. So we're going to draw this shape a little bit like this. And now you can already see that this is quite a dynamic pose, because it's like it starts out like this and then it bends to the other sides because of the hip, because the hip is tilting to the other sides. And okay, finally we'll sketch in the legs. And this is basically just what we have for a simple skeleton. Just like the basic structure of the human body. We can already tell that there's a human going on here, but we cannot identify him or anything like that. It's just a blank slate, basically. And we can even like draw there's a line here which corresponds a little bit more or less to the skateboard, which is where he's leaning on. So we can have that to aid us. Okay. All right, so this is the skeleton of this guy. And you can see it's already like a very dynamic shape. We have like diagonals going everywhere here. Like it's lines going in every direction. So that's how you tell that a sketch or a pose is dynamic. If I were to sketch like a full frontal, like just the guy standing like a mugshot, the guy standing in front of the camera, very straight, very robotic, it would be very static. It would be not dynamic at all. There would be no story or no emotion to the sketch. But because there is, so we have like all these parts moving around and you have to make sense of them. All right, so the second part of this in the second class of part one, we would fill this with shapes, like with, so we have the skeleton here. Let's just say we have the skeleton here, and we will fill this skeleton with sausages and articulate circles for articulations and sausages for the limbs. But because we don't want to saturate the sketch a little bit, we'll be a little bit more advanced and we'll start sketching the figure itself. So let's start from the head. This is apparently very complex, and it's kind of a leap. It's a huge leap on the course, but I'll delve into all the intricacies between this step and the step that I'm going to do right now. So we're going to skip like 4 or 5 steps right now. So let's consider that the hair is a single shape instead of like a set of lines. It's just a single shape. It's very irregular because the guy's hair is messy, but it's just a single shape. It's like a weird polygon. You can see that. So this is how I usually approach hair. It's just a single shape, and you can detail it a little bit later. But for now, it's just a shape. And the face, also a shape, following more or less the lines of the skeleton that we had previously. Let's not detail it so far right now. We'll go back to details later. And then we start adding all the pieces. This is the neckline. Let's add the shoulder, the t-shirt. T-shirt goes back. And then we add the rest of the arm. We can see that the arm is not exactly a regular structure. It has like a few bumps in the more bony parts of the arm. And then we have like a really quick, simple hand. We'll get to know all about this hand business in one class entirely dedicated to hands. And then we have the other arm. Pay attention to the bumps of the bony sections and of the muscles and all that. And then we have the hands. We can make this one a little bit more simple. We don't have to draw all of the fingers, just give an impression of the folding of the hands. Now onwards down to the t-shirt, to where the t-shirt ends. I'm already starting to include a few wrinkles of the clothing there, and notice how this kind of helps us structure a little bit. You know, like we know where the articulation is, where the tension is by the wrinkles of the t-shirts. The t-shirt only folds in like compression areas or tension areas. So that's where we know that there's folds and articulations, and that's also how we add a little bit of dynamics to the whole scene. You know, wrinkles usually make for more dynamic sketches, as I did here. And like I went the leg, straight leg, and then wrinkles in the articulation of the leg. And you can do this in one go. You don't have to like sketch 2 lines and then go back and sketch the wrinkles. You can, like in a single line, sketch 1 line, wrinkles, and then the other line. I told you this might be a little bit complex, but you know, it's just a demo. It's just to get a flavor, for you guys to get a flavor of what's going to happen throughout the course. So don't freak out if you're not like nailing this right now. Shoes are difficult. Actually, it's like one of the areas where I have a little more trouble actually with the shoes or feet. Anyway, there we go. Yeah, so this is more or less the human figure. Let's draw the skates. Let's give him a base just to have skateboards. Just to have some structure. Otherwise, it'll just look like he's floating mid-air. Yeah, this is a little bit nicer. You don't have to be too detailed. This is not a skate sketching course. All right, let's just go back a little bit to his face, and we're just going to add enough features or enough detail that we have a recognizable human being. This is already a recognizable human being, but we'll add a little bit of features just to show that, you know, we don't want a portrait. We just want a semblance of the expression that this guy had in that particular moment. That's it. Now we can detail the head, the hair a little bit more. His hair is messy and all over the place. We're not going to sketch like string by string of hair because that will just oversaturate the shape. We're just going to select a few areas where it's darker, where it's more shaded, and just do a zigzaggy line, like an ECG line. Going around here as well. We can extend this shape a little bit more. You know, I can always iterate myself. I can always iterate on my own actions. Like if I find that the shape is not exactly like as I want it, I can iterate and I can add a few more lines here and there just to make it a little bit more closer to the reference photo. So it's not fixed. What you do in shapes is not fixed. You can even you can always go back and work it a little bit more. And that's the magic of sketching, is that you can, it's not about the result, it's about the process. It's about you realizing that, okay, I need a little bit few more lines there, so that's okay, I can add them. Even if it looks messy, don't worry, at least you learn the process. All right, so this will be it more or less for sketching. We covered a skeleton, we covered basically structure of the body. We filled the body up with sausages like limbs and this mass, this chest mass, the abdomen mass, the limbs, the legs. All this was filled up with mass, with flesh, and then we progressed. We went a little bit under detailed in the hands. We didn't go into much detail in the hands, but we're going to in the course. And we covered a little bit of hair detail, how to handle hair detail, how to handle facial features, and all that, and wrinkles, of course, wrinkles in the clothing, because it feels very important. And this sketch, at least, because he's all bendy. Now we're going to the second part of the course, which will be all about how to give volume to this guy, how to give volume and shadow and shade. Mostly volume is conveyed by shading. So just to give you an example, this example I also explore in the course, during the course, but just to give you an example of like a sphere and a cylinder. I mean, so far, if I draw them with pens, you wouldn't say that this is a sphere. You would say that this is a circle. You would say that this is a cylinder, but it's a very flat cylinder. Like it's just like flat in the paper. It doesn't stand out or anything like that. You just imagine that this, okay, I believe that this is a cylinder because it's like drawn in 3D, but I don't feel it. I don't feel that it's 3D because it's just like there flat on the paper. So what we do with shade and with watercolor in this case is we try to make it a little bit, this three-dimensionality a little bit more believable. So let's say that the sun is coming, or the light is coming from there on both occasions. So there we go. There's a sun there. There's two suns in this solar system. So if the light is coming from there, there's going to be like a light side. It's like the moon. There's going to be a light side and a dark side. The dark side is going to be as dark as it gets. So we paint it as dark as we can. We wash off the pigment, and then we go over it again with a wet brush. And we try to make a nice gradient effect so that we show people that, no, this is a sphere, because it grades, the gradient goes from very dark to middle to very light. So this is a more believable sphere than the thing that I had before, which was basically a circle. And we can even like add a shadow, of a projected shadow, which we'll also cover in the course a little bit, and just enough. And there we go. Now this object is lying on the ground. Now there's no question in our minds that this object exists on the ground, and it's three-dimensional. It's of course a simulation, but you know what I mean. We believe it. We believe it to be real. And the same thing with the cylinder. If this is the light part, then the shadow is going to be on this side, or the dark part is going to be this side. Wash it off. And then we go over it with a wet brush, and there you go. We have a nice gradient. And suddenly this bidimensional cylinder becomes a three-dimensional cylinder. You can also add the shadow on the ground to make it even more believable. Now this cylinder is grounded. So basically that's what we're going to do with the figure. And this is what part 2 is all about, or at least class 1 of part 2. it's going to be making this believable in this sense, in the sense of painting shadows, shades and shadows. So let's try to follow more or less the reference photo. So in the reference photo, the lighting is a little bit diffuse, so it was probably like a cloudy day, but we can definitely tell that the light is coming from above. We don't know if it's coming from the side, but it's definitely coming from above, because like the top part of his arms are lit, the the shoulders are lit, and then everything else is a little bit more shaded, like the bottom part of the legs and the arms are a little bit shaded, so that's how we know that the light is coming from the top. So let's be faithful to that, and before we get to the hair, let's just like as if these were cylinders. We paint the dark part. We paint the dark part, and now we have to be quick. Just be quick about it. Don't be very mindful of whether you're painting in the line or not. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that you do like a quick job in figuring out where the shadow should be, and just paint it. Paint it. Paint it. It's like the underside of the legs, of both parts of the leg. Paint it. Underside here as well. You can even hint. I'm hinting at like clothes wrinkles here with the shadow. So this is another level where you can take your sketches to. Is to combine the shades with the wrinkles. And now we all wash off the pigments and we try to make gradients all over. Some of these are probably already dry, so I'll try to make the best of it. Dries very fast. This is cellulose paper or pulp paper, so it's going to dry very fast. But it doesn't really matter. What's important is that you get the gist of it. I'm trying to do like the guy is facing down, so it's natural that all of this is kind of like more in the shadow than in the light. All his chest, especially his neck, because he's facing down. So you see, so I'm not actually paying attention to his skin color or his shirt color, and just paying attention to the shadow. What's shadow? What's not shadow? What's light? What's shadow? I actually painted too much because there's a few light wrinkles here. So I'll try to remove a little bit of the pigment in some areas to bring it a little bit more to light. This paper is actually very good for this. This Canson Montval 300 grams. It's good for lifting. This is a technique in watercolor called lifting, where you lift a little bit of you get back a little bit of the white of the paper. And now still trying to get some gradients going on here, so that I don't have like sharp. I don't mind sharp. I don't mind sharp shadows actually. They look very comic booky. But we want to make we want to make the best of this sketch. We want to practice all that we can with the sketch. So I'm taking it to the extreme. We can even like go back to the palette, grab some more pigments, and do some reinforcement on the dark lines, on the dark areas. And while the paper is wet, it will still have the gradient effect. You'll notice that I'm saving the hair and head for last because I want to talk a little bit more in detail about that. You can add a few more wrinkles. We can reinforce the wrinkles that we did with the pen with the brush. Sometimes a little bit redundant. This feels a little bit redundant to have wrinkles with pen and then wrinkles again with brush. Sometimes it works. Just have to find the right balance. All right, now let's do the hair. The hair is messy, as I told you. So we'll try to. The brush is fully loaded with the pigment right now, very dark. So we'll try to paint some areas, some shaded areas, while leaving white, leaving some parts white, because like the hair has reflections. It goes from very dark brown to very light brown. Don't think it ever gets to white, but there's some very light areas, so we'll try to respect that. And there you go. This is how you achieve it. You kind of try to find the dark areas, leave the other ones alone, and bam, you have a shiny hair that looks quite natural, more or less natural, in the cartoonish sense or in the comic booky sense, at least. But it simulates. I mean, if you're sketching fast, you don't have a lot of time for detail, for drawing every single part of light and shadow in the hair. So this is enough. It's not like the skater is going to pose for you. It's going to stay there and pose for you in the mid-air. So you have to make the best of what we have. And then a few areas of shadow in the face as well, just to shape it up. It's like we're doing. A lot of times I feel like I'm sculpting. When I'm drawing a face, I'm kind of planning out the shapes. When I'm painting a face, it feels a little bit more like I'm sculpting it, and like drawing out the nose and drawing out the hollows, and a little bit more shadow in his left part of the face, because that's how I see the ref photo. And now all we have to do is paint a little bit of the contexts. Like for instance, we need some shadow on close to his feet. You see that the skateboard, he's actually casting a shadow on the skateboard, but it's very diffuse shadow. It doesn't have like a clear edge, as if it were like midday in the desert, something like that. So first we lay a dark wash, a dark brush stroke, and then we clean off the brush, and we'll try to diffuse it as best as we can with clean water. There you go, diffuse. And now we have something that resembles a little bit more what we have in the reference photo, like a shadowy part, and then it comes to the light a little bit, more or less. And this kind of simulates the shadow that the skater is casting on the skate itself. And yeah, that's just about it. One detail that I have that I add as well in the very final class, is that we can also work a little bit with context. So basically, like we've did one single human figure from skeleton to shading, and now to make it a little bit more alive and believable and have like a story to it, rather than just being a plain academic exercise where this figure I have to sketch, and it's a skater, and there's no more story to it. We can add a little bit of context. In this case, the photo, the context is not very rich. I mean, there's like an advertising there, and like a stone wall. You can actually the stone wall is quite characteristic, but I'm just going for now I'm inventing. And I'm just looking for, there's other figures in the background, other skaters that are waiting their turn. And they're holding boards, and they don't need to be very detailed, just like silhouettes leaning against the wall, for instance, with different poses of, different poses and different postures, even like different shades of gray, just to have some context into this scene, so that this guy is not skating alone. Some can be sitting on the ground, as they sometimes are. And you can intersect them. Now we're just making washes, making shapes with the brush, and shapes that are not in the reference photo. So we use your creativity, use your creative licensing, and we can even intersect them in create bundles of people, like clusters of people together. Watercolor gives you that ability to melt everything together. And maybe we can even introduce a little bit of shading to the ground, so that these people are not floating up in the air again. So All this is what we're going to do. This is like a rundown of the whole course in just one single sketch. Of course, we skipped, as I said, we skipped a lot of parts. For instance, we skipped the sausage part and the hands part, like all the articulations that the hand has. We're going to delve on that. We're going to explore a little bit on that. But I just wanted to let you know of what we can do, what you can achieve, what kind of sketch you can achieve in the very end of the course. And that's from skeleton, which by now has almost disappeared. Like this is the advantage of using graphite or colored pencil, is that it completely disappears behind all the detail that you added. Like you went with a pen to over the skeleton, and then we went with a brush over it all. So the skeleton completely lost importance. That doesn't mean that you have to always draw the skeleton first. You don't. I mean, ideally, you shouldn't have to draw the skeleton first, but it's good to practice. It's a tool that you should use as long as you need it. When you don't need it, when you feel that, okay, I have the skeleton more or less nailed down, let's just try to do an experiment without skeleton. Let's just try to jump to a figure straight to sketching without having to study the the structure. So put yourselves out there, not at the first, not at the beginning, of course, but like at the beginning, you can practice a little bit with the skeletons. But as you get more and more experience with skeletons, then you are ready to let them go. And that was it. How quick was it?
Yeah.
Did you time me?
Yeah, no, I think that was less than an hour, almost 30 minutes, I think. Um, so yeah, that was amazing. Let me just see if, hold on, let me just, okay, there, I dropped something, I'm sorry. There we go. And we're back. So that is truly amazing, and how you literally emphasized as well, or how the subject came out. I was pretty just was mesmerized how you added the minimal details at the background and made it all stand out. I think that for me just completed the whole picture.
Yeah. And
Um,
it creates like a storytelling environment. Like suddenly it's like it's
exactly.
not just a guy, but it's a guy with his bunch behind. So
Which we absolutely love. And I love that you highlighted that storytelling part, because that's often what we forget whenever we're sketching. So I'm glad that you mentioned that out. So if you guys would want to check out Pedro's course, I'm going to be dropping again the link in the chat. And Pedro has given as an overview of what you're, like he mentioned, what you can achieve. Um, through this course. So that's going to be part one and part two. Part one is going to be focusing on sketching with the sausages, Pedro said. um, and part two will be all about watercolors. So yes, that would absolutely be fun. Um, there are a couple of questions earlier, but
yeah,
mostly about the materials. Just to clarify again, the pencil that you were using was a charting pencil. Is that correct?
a charting pencil. I'm not sure actually.
Oh, okay, gotcha,
It's
gotcha.
it's basically like a double-ended. I'm not sure if it's called charting. I never heard that expression. Maybe it is. So it's basically a double-ended sketch pencil. This side is red, and this end is red, and this end is blue, and it's quite convenient. Like you just flip around, as I did. Like I started with the reds, but then like people weren't seeing the sketch, so I switched to blue, which is a little bit more emphatic.
Got so yeah. I think it's also awesome. You mentioned how it doesn't show at the end of the sketch. Even if you went darker with a blue one, I think it doesn't actually show. So that's really amazing.
Well, I can see it. Maybe like the camera is blocking out, is
Oh,
filtering out,
okay.
but you can see it. Like the shoulders are there, still
All
the
right.
articulation of the shoulders. Like there's hints of, but like the important part is this. Like at this distance, you hardly ever see it. You hardly see it. So, and that's my way of facing sketching. I mean, you can have a sketch and have like the marks that helped you get there. Like it doesn't really matter if I try not to aim to perfect results. I mean, my results can be messy and have mistakes or hiccups or something like that, and I just go with it usually. So this doesn't bother me at all to have those
Yeah,
marks.
I think it works too. Oh, do you happen to know what brand this is? The pencil. I'm sorry. I think they just got super curious about it.
About the brands. Oh, I found this pencil at my mother's house, so I took, but it has it's Jolly Post Bureau,
Jolly.
and it's made in Austria.
Yeah,
So if there are people,
awesome.
I think this shows, right?
Yep, it
Yes.
does. I think
But I
that
think
helps.
there's other brands that make these kinds of pencils. I think this is a pencil that's quite used by comic book artists, in fact,
Right.
like to make the initial draft and everything that they do.
Oh, okay. So other questions, time for our Q&A. Let us know if you have any questions in the chat. Someone's asking that about the pen that you prefer to use but didn't use today.
Oh,
What would you
gotcha.
normally use? Yeah.
So usually I'm a nib pen fan. It's like that tongue
Yeah.
twister. A nib pen fan. Oof. And I usually go for this one. I've been using a lot of this one. This is a Noodler's Ahab. It's an American-made pen, and let's just go at it. And it's been failing me. I don't know if it's like I think it has ink inside. No, it's actually empty. It's actually empty, so that's why it's not sketching. But anyway, it's quite nice because it has some flex to it. So basically, it's not going to come out. Nothing is going to come out now because it's unloaded. But like if I draw it very lightly, then I have a very thin line. But if I press against the paper, I have the thicker line. So it's very flexible, this nib. So that's why I like it a lot. And then um, for something that is a little bit more not as flexible, you have the German-made Lamy pen, Lamy Safari, which creates it doesn't also without ink. Gosh, uh, yeah. Anyway, uh,
Okay.
the thing about this pen is that it doesn't. Yeah, it creates a more consistent line. Basically, it doesn't flex so much. So if I press against the paper, the nib doesn't open as much as the Noodlers, and so it creates like a more consistent line. So two pens for two different flavors, and they're both nib pens, and they're both loaded with. They have to be charged with watercolor ink, waterproof ink, so that it doesn't smear when I'm applying the watercolor.
Thank you so much. And just to clarify again, that's Noodler's ink for the fountain pen?
It's not. It's actually this one,
Oh, sorry.
German Rocher and Payne. It's sketching basically.
Gotcha.
They all have women's names. The black one is called Lotte. But yeah, this is the thing that it's the ink that I've been using lately. Usually I use the Atramantis. I don't think I have a jar here. I use also German the Atramantis ink. The Atramantis archival or documents. The Atramantis are the Atramantis document ink. Yeah. I see a request to spell the names of the Philly's sketchbook already. Yeah. Thank you.
There
Show
we
ready.
go. Yeah. Someone was asking about the names to be written down in the chat. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for your help, Feliz. Um, awesome. Any more questions about the live demo earlier, about the course, upcoming course? Let us know in the chat. And we also learned something new today. I think they do call it charting pencil in dentistry. So thank you so much for that fun fact.
Oh wow.
Um,
Dentistry. Oh, that's interesting.
It is. Okay. Maybe we can probably just talk about the course again for the newcomers, and again, just a quick reminder for everyone to stick till the end because we have a giveaway. So for the, I'm just here to talk about the dates about the course. So part one is all Wednesdays. That's going to be 5 classes starting September 6th, 2 p.m. Eastern time. All of those dates. And for part two, that's going to be on all Tuesdays, made up of 4 classes starting October 17th. And that's still 2 p.m. Eastern time, except for October 31st, because we're going to be having a time shift. So that's 3 p.m. Eastern time. Susan was mentioning I tend to ruin people's sketches with facial details that are too strong.
Oh
Smaller
yeah,
pens, maybe.
I was
Yeah.
seeing that question. Yeah, that's actually a great question that I can answer like really quickly here on the side. Yeah, let's use this 30 sheets. So uh, not I wouldn't use. I'm lazy, so I'm lazy at switching pens. You know, like if I start a pen with one sketch, I just like to go with it until the end. And what happens, like smaller pens, Susan was suggesting maybe using smaller pens. Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that. I would instead use less detail. So let's see, like if we have, like, let's amplify, let's zoom in on this guy's face. I'm using the same reference photo, just like, and being very quick about it. So we have a face here. We have to have eyes, eyebrows, nose, and mouth. Usually I choose to be very brief about it, in the sense of instead of like adding a lot of fur to the eyebrows, just like one single line and another single line. That's it. These are the eyebrows. Eyes. Actually, we don't see the eyes because he's facing down. His face is facing down, so we just see the eyelids. But instead of like drawing every single what you call it, oh gosh, the little hairs on the eyelids. I cannot English today. Anyway, those. We just do this. And for the nose, instead of drawing the full nose, like going around a line, going around the nose with a whole line and doing the curly stuff there, just that's it, like a V shape there on the tip of the nose. That's all you need. And the mouth is kind of facing down, so that's it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 jots of the pen, and that gives you a face. If you detail more than this, you need to have like a bigger face. So if you're sketching the face in the whole sheet, then you need detail. Then you need more detail. But since you're drawing the face so small, you don't need as much detail. Like just don't fill up basically resist the temptation to fill up this with small faces with a lot of detail, and that would just be that's my usual practice. I can show you a few more faces, like really small faces, and they all have very little detail. This guy actually has a little bit more detail, but like it kind of adds to the character of him. But these guys, they have like very few details. So take a look at this profile, for instance. This woman she has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, also 5 like jots. This guy, this is actually the same guy. This is the skater guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, even briefer than I did right now. You see, like his mouth is only like a tiny tip, like this, and this is a nose. This is like, let's practice like with a random face. You have a hair. This is almost like manga style, manga style detail. Almost no detail, but you can tell that there's a face here. So that would be my advice on like not adding so much detail to the face.
That's gorgeous, and thank you so much for mentioning that. When you were showing the faces, funny moment, I remembered the cover of the Bohemian Rhapsody faces. I was like, they
Because
do
of
look
this
like
guy.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. That was funny. Great
But
tips on the face.
that makes sense because Freddie Mercury was from Pakistani origin. This guy is from a reference photo taken in India. So yeah, so, yeah.
Oh,
Do the math.
yeah. Let's see. How do we enroll? I think we can just follow through the link. Let me just go ahead and drop the link into the chat. So a lot of you guys have expressed you signing up for the course already. So thank you so much. We will be seeing you there. First class is going to be on September 6th. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, Wednesday, and that's 2 p.m. Eastern time. And for those who are interested to sign up, just click the link on the chat and follow through the instructions on how to sign up. And the link is definitely here. There we go. I'm sorry, you guys, for influencing you. The Bohemian Rhapsody reference. There we go.
Ray,
Okay.
Ray Galloway is saying, "Vote for Pedro."
Yeah.
Actually, I never saw that movie. I think it's called Napoleon Dynamite. I never saw it, and they have shirts with my name on it.
Critical. There we go. There's been an interesting topic about pencils in the chat. So that was pretty much unexpected, but fun.
It's cool. Yeah, I
Very
like it.
informative.
I never pay. I like pen so much that I never pay attention to pencils, and I hardly ever use them actually. But like this pencil was laying just there in my mother's house, and it felt like a fun tool to use, so I just grabbed it, and it actually became useful for the whole course.
Our mother's place is always a treasure place for us.
True.
There we go. I think we don't have any questions. The live demo was pretty upfront, and I think everything was clear. Somebody mentioned earlier that they were just in awe and they couldn't think up of any questions. um,
Cool.
Good question from Anne. Is the course live or recorded? The course will be live on the dates that we have mentioned or listed in the link, but they will also be recorded. So if you won't be able to attend the live courses or the live class, then don't worry because all of those will be recorded. Awesome. There we go. Okay. And I think that's pretty much it. Going once, going twice. There we go. We don't have any question. Oh, what was the first album Pedro listened on repeat?
What was the first album? That's a good question. That's an uncanny question, and
Exactly.
I'll tell you why. This is completely off topic, but it might be a fun story. So the first album that I've listened on repeat was The Great Escape by Blur, because it was the very first CD that I owned when I was back
Oh.
when I was 15. That was 1995. And the uncanny part of the story is that yesterday I went to watch a Blur concert here in Lisbon. So
wow.
so that was a reason that was the reason why why you asked Ray, why you asked that question. So, there you go. Unexpected.
Yay, awesome. From December. Sorry.
I was just saying, bom fim de semana. That's have a great weekend in Portuguese.
Gotcha. Thank you so much for translating that for me. Awesome. All right, I don't think we don't have any questions so far, but if you do have, please feel free to message Pedro on his Instagram about the course, or at Etcher Studio as well if you'd like to know more about it. But yeah, I think we are good to go. So I think it's now time for the gift. Sorry, go ahead.
I actually have one question. So in the previous course, there was the previous course last year, introduction to sketching. We had a Facebook group where we had like the discussion and everything and all that. I'm not sure if it's going to be like that again. if there's going to be a Facebook group dedicated to the course, or if it's going to be like on Etcher Studio's websites.
Good
Do you
question.
know about it, Kathleen?
Yep, absolutely. So we don't have a dedicated Facebook group for courses but we highly encourage everyone to post their work on the main Facebook group, which is the Etcher Studio fam, and to show everyone your work. So don't be afraid. I'm just gonna flash this on the screen. So if you want to join our private Facebook group, it's free for everyone. So just type in Etcher Studio fam on Facebook, so that it's easier for you guys to also post your works and your homeworks, and class output. You can post it there. Also, you can also post them on Instagram and tag Pedro whenever you have your homeworks finished. And the third way where you can post it is actually in the main recording page or the website. So the website is kind of like Facebook as well now, where you can
And
post your homework.
it allows photo publishing, right, or
Exactly.
image posting. Yeah, good, 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 good.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. So there are lots of ways for you can send in your works. But if you're still too shy to post your works, feel free to message us at hello@etcherstudio.com, and we are going to be sending that over to Pedro so that he can have a look. So, gotcha. There we go. Okay. And I think that was pretty much it. Thank you so much, you guys, for your interest. And time for the much awaited giveaway. Um, so just for a few instructions for the giveaway, everyone in the chat and who is live now are eligible for the giveaway. So there will be two winners today. One will win the 24 half pan watercolor set, and the other one will win the graphic pen set. So both of which you can use for Pedro's course. So if you're lucky enough, then stick around. So the mechanics of which is you don't need to type anything just yet. I have written down a number in these two papers, and whoever gets the closest number, the first person, well, first two-person who gets the numbers closest to this, or the exact numbers that are written here, will win. And I'm gonna give you 15 seconds to type in the number um, that you are guessing. So I'm gonna type go in the chat, and that's the only time that we're gonna be all answers will be credited. So okay, not now. Okay, everyone's pretty much excited,
Yeah, it's
but
avalanche.
it's okay. When I type go, that's the only time that the answers will be credited. So don't type anything just yet. So for 15 seconds, we're gonna start now when I say, or when I type go. There we go. 15, 14, 13, 12,
Avalanche number
7,
is
10, 9. That's a lot. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and stop. Answers beyond these won't be credited, so all of those numbers that are in between go and stop will the only numbers that will be credited. So thank you so much for answering. And again, if you guys are interested to sign up for Pedro's course, that's the link is here in the chat. I'm dropping that here, and that's going to be 2-part course, just like the 2 lucky winners will be winning tonight. So tonight, wherever you are. So the first winner, I'm just gonna open this first number. So bear with me because you guys have been flooding the chat. I did not expect that. First lucky winner who got the closest number, or the number itself, is 48. So I'm just gonna look for number 48. Or if nobody got the number 48, then we're just gonna have to. Nobody got number 48. Let me scan again. There
I
we
think I saw
go.
49.
Yeah. Okay. Not 48, but the first person who got closest to 48 would be, I think it's 49 indeed. Pedro, is that right?
Sorry,
Was that 49? Yep, that
I
was
saw
49
49
indeed. So
homemade,
that's
right?
at homemade. Thank you so much. Pedro is really hands on when it comes to these. Thank you so much. um, homemade at homemade. Congratulations at homemade.
And
You
it's going to
won.
Sweden, I think, because I saw homemades to make a comment in Swedish. Tack.
There we go. Okay, so congratulations, Homemade, for winning the watercolor 24 half pan watercolor set. Congratulations. And our next winner of the graphic pen set. Let me just quickly scan if somebody got the number I wrote. Let me just open this, and it's number 11. So between go and stop, um, the first person who got closest to it, we've got 17. Is that the closest? Or is that correct?
Oh, is there? There's a lot of 13, 17s.
Yeah, I think the first 17, though. Um, Let me see. Bear with me, you guys.
I also see a 7. Is that close? I think that's closer
Yeah,
to
that's might be close.
11.
I see. I also see a nope. Okay, yeah. Hold on, let me just see where that 7 is. Okay, I see a 321. 7 might be the closest in need, don't you think, Pedro?
Yeah, it's 4 away instead of 6.
Gotcha.
Barry,
And
Barry, my perfect pony, I guess. Or no, wait.
let me just. I keep losing because of the new chats. Sorry about that. Was that 7? I was looking for 11, 11. I'm sorry. 7. There we go. Barry, my perfect pony. Let me just type them in the chat. Barry, my
Extra
perfect
points for a
pony.
cool name.
Exactly. I was just gonna say that. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you so much for your patience, you guys. And thank you so much, Tracy, for helping me out on that. Congratulations to the winner. Um, Oh, thank you so much, you guys, for joining our giveaway. And all you have to do is to message us at hello@etcherstudio.com to claim your the prize. Let me just type that in the chat. So just message us hello@etcherstudio.com. So, homemade, congratulations for winning the watercolor set. And Barry, thank you so much. Congratulations to winning the graphic pen set. So, yes,
Hey.
definitely. I'm gonna be flashing that Instagram account of Pedro. There we go.
Oh yeah, there was a question. Sorry, Kathleen. There was a question from
Yep.
Susan Marshall. I registered for both, but I can only see the first one. Please and thank you. That's
Oh,
because I
okay.
think it's not out there yet, right?
Yes, exactly. So once you have registered for both, don't worry. You definitely have registered for part one and part two. Part two is not yet out, so that we don't cause any confusion for the two parts. So we're going to be focusing only for the part one, and that's the only part that is released for now. But don't you worry, part two is definitely out there. So, um, thank you so much,
It's
Pedro,
going
for
to be
spotting
out
that.
there. And
Out
Homemade
there.
asks, how do we get the prize?
Yeah, homemade. Just message us at hello@etcherstudio.com. Um, so just message or shoot us an email saying that you won the giveaway for Pedro's live demo. And yeah, we'll definitely entertain you when it comes to shipment and those kinds of things. Um, thank you so much, Peter. Persephone, I'm sorry. Read that wrong.
Thank you.
There we go. Okay, any more questions? But if we don't have any questions or comment for Pedro, then I'm gonna hand the floor to Pedro for any final thoughts before we close this session or this live demo?
Final thoughts. Again, gosh, you put me on the spot here. I was not prepared. Have fun sketching.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's my go-to line. It's yeah, it's basically all about having fun and like don't pressure yourselves to have perfect results. Pressure yourself, no, don't pressure yourselves to have perfect results. Just go out and enjoy the process and go check out the urban sketchers because that helps a lot for professionals and non-professionals in art alike. And always sketch from life. Try to sketch from life. Of course, here we're restricted to reference photos because we're in different places of the planet and we have to communicate. But the ideal thing is to have to go out and sketch this guy, this skater guy live. So don't be afraid to go out to the streets and sketch people because that's where the real practice is. And it's actually much more relieving because sometimes you put a lot of pressure when you're sketching from reference photos. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to make it look like the photo. And if we're sketching outside, people are moving around, people are never still. So that could be like an extra pressure, but I think for me it works more like a relief because then I don't get the pressure of, okay, the sketch didn't work out exactly as that person is because that person never stood still. So that makes sense. So yeah, so go out into the streets and sketch. That's the best practice that you can get.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pedro. That was very reassuring and a good way to start off the course. So, for those who signed up for the course, thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. And we will see you on Wednesday next week for the first session. And we're pretty much excited, especially for the live feedback session for each parts. Same as before, the courses before where we had the live feedback session. That was a fruitful live feedback session, especially for Pedro. So we're pretty much excited for you guys. Okay, see you next week. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much, everybody. And with that, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today for our live demo. And thank you so much for sticking with us till the end. And thank you, Pedro, for another fruitful and productive live demo.
And
And
thank
until
you,
next
Kathleen,
time,
for hosting.
thank you. And
And thank
until
all you
next
guys
time,
for being there.
yeah,
And yeah, see you next week.
we'll see you next week, everybody. Make more art. Bye for now.
Bye.